So The Chosen Season 2 Episode 1 is finally out. It's finally been released. It was released on Easter Sunday in the US. For us here in the UK, it was actually early morning of Monday. So some of you may be watching thinking, what is The Chosen? I've never even heard of it. That's not something I'll find on Netflix or Amazon Prime or any other big streaming services. Because you won't find it on there whatsoever. It's actually very unique. It's by a guy called Dallas Jenkins. He writes it and directs it. It's a whole TV show. They've done season 1 last year, which was awesome in itself. It's actually a TV show based on Jesus, and it's based on the disciples as well, looking at their lives, looking at their background, looking at how Jesus, how they walk with Jesus, how they follow Jesus, and looking at all of their stories and how they intertwine with one another. Like I say, it's an independent thing. It's not run by a streaming service. It's actually on an app, which is quite interesting. It looks like that. If you can see it on camera, you might not be able to. Basically, the episodes actually get released on there. It's all crowdfunded, so they have a thing on here called Pay It Forward. So once you watched an episode, for example, you've got the option to pay a certain amount, and they give you all different payment options, basically to help fund each episode. It basically helps Dallas Jenkins and his film crew and just them in general have more control over how it's written, how it's directed, what is actually produced, and because of that, it ends up being probably the best Christian piece of content that's actually out there at the moment. Just a TV show based on Jesus, based on his disciples, based on the text of the Bible, but actually they add loads of little stuff in to kind of help build up the character stories, and kind of help you understand who the characters are, their motivations, who they actually are, and even understand who Jesus is, and on a deeper level, on a more human level as well. Let's talk about the episode 1 then of season 2. It first opens up at a later time after Jesus had died and resurrected and ascended to heaven, and the disciples are coming together to give their testimony of what they've witnessed, of their followings of Jesus and their encounters with Jesus and everything they've witnessed just through following him. It's based on actually the book of John. John actually interviewing these eyewitnesses, which I actually loved, because it really shows the historical grounding of this show. It's not meant to be looking at it from a fairy tale perspective, a fantasy sort of thing. It just really grounds it in the New Testament as a historical document, that these are actually eyewitnesses that witnessed the miracles of Jesus, witnessed the life of Jesus, witnessed him, what he did and how he lived, just how they followed him. And it's just John, the disciple John, if you see in the Gospels, it's from the Gospel of John, and it's just him interviewing different eyewitnesses and him just kind of bringing all their stories together to make a cohesive story. That's what you'll see in the Gospel of John, and that's basically what this episode is based on. Really eye-opening to see it, again, all the disciples coming together. First season, you see them see Jesus kind of gathering their disciples one by one over time, but in season 2, majority of them, bar a few, are with Jesus now. And it's just how they are with one another, and just how they grow with one another, and how they're growing towards Jesus, and how they're following him. Just kind of getting used to the radicalness that is Jesus, and how he doesn't fall into the typical archetype of a religious leader or a religious teacher, and they're just trying to kind of get used to that. So my favourite scene overall in the whole episode was actually when Jesus and the disciples visited this man that lived out in the middle of nowhere, him, his daughter and his wife. You see in the very beginning of this episode that the Big James and Little John, what Jesus calls them, were farming a piece of land, and actually later on in the episode you find out that this piece of land was actually owned by this man that they come to visit. And it was such an emotional scene, just him breaking down to Jesus and understanding his mistake of his history, which if you watch the episode you understand what's going on, why he's getting so emotional, what his pain point is, what's going on with his suffering and what his story is. And also he has a broken right leg as well, and that scene in itself was just so well written, so emotional, because you really kind of felt for all of felt for the man, and just you could see Jesus weeping for him. So Jonathan Rumi, I think his name is, who plays Jesus, he's casted so well in Jesus. In this scene you kind of understand the emotional depth of the pain that Jesus feels for this man and for his family as well. And then obviously later on we find out that after Jesus subtly hugs this man, in that process, he's actually healed this man's leg, and it was amazing to see the two cutting scenes of Jesus waking up in the morning in a completely different location, and then this man waking up, and this man dancing and prancing about because his leg's been healed, because Jesus healed him, and Jesus is just laying there, and he's just smiling and just laughing because he knows that this man's leg's been healed, and his family can have a new start, have a new beginning. And then seeing this man later on come into the synagogue that Jesus reads one of the Torah scriptures in, and the little wink that Jesus gives towards this man, it was just so well written, so well crafted. It was just a magnificent piece of character building and storytelling as well, and it really just brings out some of that depth, that emotional depth that Jesus has. It just really shows Chosen TV series as a whole, how much emotional depth there is to all of these characters that are written for, and just really understanding and just making us empathize with all of these characters, and just bringing a historical yet human grounding to them. They're not like fictional characters that are made up out of thin air. They're actually real people that have lived in the past, 2,000 odd years ago. Dallas Jenkins and his crew are just bringing all these stories to life in a new and a fresh way, which this episode really just heightens as well. And it was just interesting to see James and John and their relationship with each other, and actually their sort of impatience, also ignorance as well towards Samaritans, and how they were quite aggressive towards the Samaritans, how from their Jewish upbringing they've been taught that Samaritans are nobodies, they're not worth it, and to see Jesus getting angry and getting irritated at them, it was actually really intriguing, because actually in different films and TV shows that depict Jesus, we don't see this sort of multifaceted emotional person. We only see kind of he's either sad or he's happy, but Jesus we see this anger in him, but also this love and compassion that he has for James and for John and for obviously everyone else that he comes across. And again, this little scene that he has with them, they're going to him and just saying how annoyed they are with how the ministry's going and how they should be the leaders, etc. The Samaritans aren't worth Jesus' time, but Jesus actually shows them no one's worth his time, no one is worthy of him, but actually he's come to, that's the reason he came. And that was also a powerful scene within itself, and I think they were definitely two of my favourite scenes in all. Again, it was a first great episode of season 2. I'm looking forward to the rest of the episodes. I think Dallas Jenkins says they may not be released weekly because obviously COVID, they're having to release them whenever they finish editing them basically, so he has to notify people, he has to notify the public when they're going to be released, because obviously they don't have to face the pressure of a timetable produced by a big massive corporation, big massive production company. His production company is his own, it's all crowd-funded, all audience-funded, so everyone who watches it, if they want to, they can donate some money. So yeah, because of all of this, they can just release it whenever they want, but obviously keeping to a certain time constraint, because with that they don't want people waiting too long. But episode 1 is now out, so people can go watch it on the app. You can also watch the live stream, I believe, on YouTube and on Facebook. I'll post all the links to the Chosen Facebook group, YouTube, and also the app below in the description, just so you know where to find it, because it can be a little bit tricky to find it. But if you Google it as well, just Google the Chosen TV show, and the various links will pop up as well, so you can easily just do that. So why do I love the Chosen so much? Well, as a Christian, I'm a big believer, and I'm passionate about Christians specifically creating content, coming into this void of the film and TV industry, and creating content that actually is inspiring and biblically grounded as well, that actually brings out some of the truth from scripture to life. Because I think what we can get carried away as Christians and non-Christians, we can get carried away with just binge watching Netflix and Amazon Prime, and as there's so many unhelpful and unfruitful TV shows and films out there that purport so many different ideas. And I think it's so important that Christians actually stand up and be creative. God has given us the ability to be creative. He's given us creative minds, and he wants us to actually create films and TV shows. But unfortunately, I don't think there is a lot of films and TV shows that have done justice to this ideal. They've come into the industry and they're trying to create their own sort of content, and it's not very well written, it's very cheesy sort of language, or it's very wish-washy and it's not very biblically grounded. Or if you look at a popular TV show, the Bible TV series, or AD, The Bible Continues, which are two of the most popular Bible TV based shows, and obviously you got the film Passion of the Christ, and obviously they all have their different takes. I think Passion of the Christ probably being the best one, but again, created by Mel Gibson, who I believe is a devout Catholic. I can't be too sure, but again, it's not really Christian centric. It's not Bible centric. It's more historical, looking at the crucifixion and the suffering of Jesus, not really looking at the disciples or Jesus' life as a whole, just looking at the crucifixion story, crucifixion account. But then you got loads of other Christian sort of films and TV shows that I've watched, and they're really cringy, and they don't appeal to Christians, and especially definitely not non-Christians, I think. And you see like films like God's Not Dead. I think they've made like 3 different films of them, and I've watched at least one of them, and again, it's really cringy. I understand the motivation and the heart behind them, but when you've not got a well-written script and it's not well acted, and the plot is really weak, and also you've got actors who don't seem to believe what they're saying, or and they don't seem to be fitting the character role very well, it just makes for a very poor film. It makes for a very poor art craft. However, I find The Chosen is magnificent. I can't find many faults with The Chosen at all. I'm really critical of a lot of TV shows and films out there, especially when it comes to like Christian content, because I'm really passionate about it. And when I see Christians not doing justice to films and TVs, I get really upset, because I think it's a massive hole that needs to be filled. And there's a market for it, there's an audience for it, and we need something that appeals to both Christians and non-Christians, and I think Chosen has filled this gap perfectly. And I just want to say well done, Dallas Jenkins, for your heart and your commitment to doing this, because I know if you look at Dallas Jenkins' story, you'll see that he went through a lot to even get to this sort of place, but he stayed faithful, and God was faithful to him in bringing this whole TV show about. I really urge you to go and watch it, both Christians and non-Christians alike. It's so important because it's so historically grounded as well. It looks at the biblical text, and it doesn't try and whitewash anything, and it doesn't just play with some scriptures and misinterpret things. It actually takes it as it is. He's had a lot of scholars, robust scholars, help back this whole show up as well. They've had roundtable discussions talking about the show, the historical context, the scholarship behind it. There's so much ground to it, and yet it doesn't take away from the human context of it as well, the cultural context. Like, there's so much holistically that's been taken in, and he hasn't forgot how to make a TV show. He hasn't forgot how to write characters, how to write a plot, he hasn't forgotten how to write a script in the middle of all that process. It is quite a genius show, to be honest, in the way and how it's crafted. And it doesn't throw Christian ideals in your face either. It doesn't push Jesus and what Jesus says down your throat. It just kind of says, here's Jesus, here's the disciples, this is their life, this is the historical context. These are real people that lived 2,000 odd years ago. These are their stories. And yes, there are stories added, but it helps build these characters up, helps make them into more human-like characters. And when you look at Jesus and how and how Jonathan Rumi plays him, which I think he's played him magnificently, he brings certain elements to the role which brings him to life in a fresh way. It really helps us envision who Jesus could have been. Now, I'm not saying that that's what Jesus looked like, or that's how Jesus was exactly, but what it helps us do, and what Dallas Jenkins says, is that he wants us to kind of come back to the scripture after we've watched the show. That's kind of the motivation behind the show. He actually wants us to kind of have a passion, have a zeal from watching the show, because it kind of drives this passion up. It just makes us so emotionally connected with these real people. And he wants us to kind of come back to the Bible, back to the New Testament, back to the stories of Jesus, the accounts of Jesus, and actually see him with a fresh eye, a fresh perspective, and a fresh heart as well, to not just sit mindlessly, numbingly through the scriptures, actually coming with it with a new, complete perspective, a new heart as well. And I think this show does that perfectly. It helps just bring it all to life once again. It just reinvigorates that passion within me, it kind of reinvigorates my mind and just helps me connect with God and with Jesus on a deeper level, because of how these stories will come to life in The Chosen as well. There's so much more to be said. I could go on for ages why I love The Chosen so much, and there's so many people out there that love The Chosen. If you look on Rotten Tomatoes, it's really highly rated, above 90%. IMDb, it's in the 9 point something. It's a really high rated TV show. I recommend that both Christians and non-Christians watch it. For those who don't believe in God, who don't call themselves Christian, who are watching this right now, it's not preachy whatsoever. I think it's just a really interesting show. You can just watch it for it just to be a show. I think that's what's good about it, because it's not preachy. It just shows you, it's just a really well-crafted TV show. I can't find many faults with it at all, really. I might do maybe later on at a certain time, but I think it just it puts a whole new spin of what Christian media could be about, and I think maybe this is the way to go. It's completely different to something on Netflix. It just has this high quality feel to it that you would find on Netflix or Amazon Prime or any other streaming service, and yet it just doesn't fit into that box. It's not been pushed down into a box anywhere, because they have so much freedom with how they've created it. And like I say, it's just so well written, so well acted, so well put together, and so well written, and it's just a real heart behind it. You can tell that the people that have created this, Dallas and this crew, that they really feel and love this project that they've done. It isn't just mind-numbing. They haven't just... It's a real passion project of Dallas's and so many others alike. And you can just tell the way that these people have been brought to life. You can tell that there is a passion behind it. It's not just been made to make money. And yes, their motivation is to reach millions of people around the world with the good news of Jesus Christ. You know, they're not hiding that, but they want to make sure that it's a really awesome, amazing TV show at the same time, and they've managed to balance that so well, and that's really hard to achieve. Making sure that audiences are motivated to actually watch the show, yet also have a mission and a value behind it, a purpose for which they're making it, and they're not making it for money purposes. That's not what Dallas and that wanted. That's why they didn't go for big production companies. They so easily could bow to that sort of pressure and look to the money, but they want to reach people with the gospel, want to reach people with the good news of Jesus Christ and the good news that he brings to so many people and transforms so many people's lives. And yeah, I just really pray that this TV show takes off and that it hits global. It just, as I look at the app, it gives you how many people have viewed it, and the views just keep racking and racking up. And it's just amazing to see how many people they're reaching with the show. Dallas and your crew, I will be praying for you that this show does wonders around the world, and I pray that it does reach millions of more people. I've been really touched by it. I've been moved by this show. I will continue to be a fan of this show, and I will always be coming back to the scriptures, what you've been telling us to do. And I think, yeah, for those of you who are watching this right now, that you need to go and watch this show. There's no hesitation with me saying that whatsoever. I think you must watch this show. It's kind of a must watch, and you'll be impacted by it. I think you'll be empowered by it as well, and you'll just see Jesus and his disciples in a completely new and fresh way, whether you're Christian or not, or non-Christian. So yeah, I just pray that God encourages you during this time, that he helps you as you watch the Chosen TV show. If you've watched it, what do you think? Leave me a comment down below what you think of my review, what you think of the Chosen TV show in general, and whether you're going to continue watching it or not, and if you've helped fund it at all, let me know as well in the comments below. Look forward to discussing that with you in the comments below. I'll see you soon. May God bless you, may he encourage you, help you and challenge you, help you engage with the culture and connect with Jesus.